Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Ever since conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk was gunned down by an assassin's bullet, there's been much public discourse on who he was. People are calling him racist, xenophobic, homophobic, all kinds of things. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Rather than forming an opinion based on others' opinions of Charlie Kirk, I decided to do a little research. And fam, I gotta say, at the very least, he was an interesting guy. But rather than sharing my findings with you, I thought it best to let you hear from the horse's mouth who Charlie Kirk really was. I think that you'll appreciate this more.
Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that? And the data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened?
A certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah, DEI stands for one of the biggest. Didn't earn it, just so we're clear.
Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s. The disappearance of the black father has been the number one driver of black poverty in this country. At least agree that black dads not being around is a bad thing.
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing. Starting in the 1980s.
I love that response. Anyone's dad not being around is a bad thing. So what happens here a lot is black people may have the exact same experience as others, right? But anytime black people have a negative experience in life, it's always exacerbated. It's blown out of proportion. It's, see there, see them, this, that, and the third.
Continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs. Blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
You really have to wonder, in fact, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
Now, he just mentioned some of the most accomplished black women in the world. If they're not qualified to hold the positions that they hold in their careers, if they're not considered intelligent, what does that say about every other black woman? This is why I say, fam, it don't matter what you do. It don't matter how law-abiding you are. It does not matter how educated you are. It does not matter if you are involved in community. You give X amount of dollars to charity every year. You hop out of your car and you break up school fights. It does not matter if you are a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen. It doesn't matter if you go out of your way to assemble. If you get on your knees and beg to be loved, it does not matter. No matter what you do, you will never be enough for certain people.
You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat serious. So it's Juneteenth. What exactly is going on here? Well, very few people are willing to actually call this out. From the first time that this was floated as a federal holiday, I am thankful and proud to say on this program we opposed it. This is not about out of many one. No, it's about a certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. The exact same thing that happens before NFL games where they play the black national anthem. This recognition of this as a quote-unquote federal holiday comes right out of the 1619 Project. Look who's most excited that this is a federal holiday. And they're not talking about this as a massive celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Now we have a full day to be able to smear and slander white America.
So Juneteenth was an opportunity. It's an opportunity for black folks to just spend the day slandering white folks. For the record, I could care less about Juneteenth, the celebration part of it. I could really care less about it. It really did nothing to push us forward. It did nothing to address unemployment. It did nothing to address police brutality. It did nothing to address the economic situation that black people find themselves in this country. It does nothing to address racism, none of those things. It's just a symbolic thing. And black people were already celebrating Juneteenth anyway. Something I've never did personally, but many black people already celebrated Juneteenth. So I don't even know what all the fuss is about. There are bigger hills to die on.
This holiday is a wedge, and I put in quotes, holiday is a wedge, used to push for countless destructive policies demanded by BLM. And remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder. You know, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and needs to actually have enough.
Why would you?
Because it's true. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Because of DEI, it begs the question, when you see a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified.
Let's stop right there. Let me tell you what I do when I see a black pilot. What I say. I know he's qualified. You know how I know he's qualified? Because any position that can be held, that people view as a top-notch position, a position that took a lot of work to get into, a position that requires hella skills, a high IQ, great discipline, they are going to be watching like a hawk at any black person trying to step into that position. The black student don't get the cheat. The black law student don't get the cheat like some people get the cheat, because they're watching him like a hawk. They're watching her like a hawk because they don't believe they should be there. There are people out there who thinks that, oh, this position is not for you. You shouldn't be here. So even if I do realize that you are smart enough to do this job and be here, I don't like the idea that you're in this position. So anything that I can do to undermine you, I will do. When I see black people in those type of positions that require hella skill, hella intelligence, I give them the benefit of doubt, because I know how hard it is on them to get in those type of positions. I know it. And I know how hard it is to maintain that position once you get in that position. I could tell you story after story after story of black professionals who had to go through all kinds of hell that their counterparts never had to deal with. So this is a theory that's easily debunked if one would just use their intelligence.
If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily. No one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe. What do? I get charity every single year.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage.
Empathy is a New Age term that does a lot of damage. There you have it. Charlie Kirk, in his own words. No more talk.